Hi people, it's Archivist here, and today I'm talking even more about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019. I think this game has officially broken a record for the most covered game on this channel for me, and why is that? Because I freaking love it. It is a great game. I like the campaign, I like Spec Ops, but multiplayer I do like, but I am feeling the urge to have a little bit of a rant in this video, so if you will indulge me for a bit, I'm going to be, ranting about it basically. And on screen you'll see me playing some Ground War. It's still on the quarry map. I seem to keep getting this, and I'm playing Ground War primarily, so I have a bad feeling that you will see this map quite a lot. But hey, that brings me on to my first point. So, the multiplayer. There are quite a few maps in this game, but when we come down to individual game modes, there's a little bit lacking. So, for example, 6v6, there are actually only 6 maps. And when it comes to Ground War, there are only 2, like they are big maps, and that's fantastic. But I just assumed they would at least have 3. Having just 2 maps in a game mode makes it feel very stale, and I don't know if it's just me, but I seem to keep getting this quarry map. And look, I like this map, I think it's very fun, but playing it over and over again is starting to make it feel old real fast. So that's my first little point, is that I feel as if the individual game modes have too few maps in their cycle. Another thing, which is quite strange, is that whenever I seem to finish a match, rather than what would happen in past COD titles where the lobby would stay together and you'd go on to the next one, it seems to disband every single time to put me in a new lobby. And I think the reason for this might be to do with our good old friends skill-based matchmaking, where I feel as if every time you do a bit better or a bit worse, it's constantly trying to get you into lobbies where you are against people of equal skill. And I talked about this in my multiplayer review, where it's a system that, look, I have a mixed feeling on this, because on the one hand, I appreciate it benefits certain people. If you don't typically do too well at Call of Duty and you get stomped by players getting massive kill streaks and you just find yourself dying over and over and over again, this system is good for you because it's finally giving you a chance to get better, to hone your craft, and not just have you be obliterated. So I get that for some people this system is actually highly beneficial. In fact, to be honest, you could argue that for any player below the 50% line, the 50% of players I should say, this is a beneficial system. But I suppose for any player who is reasonably skilled, this is a little bit of what I would call a fatiguing system. There will always be matches we play where it feels, a little bit sweaty, like everyone's hyper reactive, hyper accurate, and doing very well and using all of the exploits, all the tactics. And look, that's just the reality of multiplayer. It's the beauty of multiplayer, and that you don't know what you're going to get each time. But when the skill-based matchmaking is so aggressive, the issue is that it makes it consistent, so you are constantly at the very precipice of your skill capabilities. And it might not even be that you're getting owned every match, but it feels like you're being strained to your absolute maximum every match. And hey, it's awesome to have a game mode like ranked mode where this is a thing. But say I'm just coming home from work, I want to play a bit of Call of Duty, I want to grind some ranks, but I don't necessarily want to have the hardest fight every single time. You want to have more of a casual game mode, a casual playlist. And that's something I feel that the game is currently lacking. So I suppose the change I would ask is one of two things. Either, just generally speaking, make the skill-based matchmaking a bit less aggressive. Make it more in line with something we've seen in Modern Warfare Remastered, because that's a game I was playing recently and you got a real mix of skill. And that is why we play multiplayer, right? Because we want a mix of skill. If I want to have something that's consistently hard, I'll play the campaign on veteran, right? Something where it's designed specifically to be difficult. Multiplayer, I feel, is something that's meant to be varied, dynamic, and have some games where you absolutely, just destroy the enemy forces, and somewhere inevitably you're going to get owned yourself. That's just the nature of it. But here, it feels like you're constantly just in the sweatiest lobbies imaginable, and I think it's going to hurt the long-term appeal of the game, unfortunately. So that's something I would suggest. Tone it down or make a separate ranked playlist where you can go to have this level of SBMM, or just, play for casual, play for fun. Because, look, I consider myself a decent player on account of just having played Call of Duty for so many years. It just gets into your blood, if you will. But I'm not a hardcore player. I don't listen for footsteps. I don't play with a headset on. You know what I generally do, honestly, guys? When I'm playing Call of Duty, I usually am watching Netflix or YouTube to the right on my laptop while I play the game. And I'm sure that just made a bunch of people cringe, but that's just the kind of person I am. I'm a decent player, but I'm not hardcore, and I don't want to constantly be playing hardcore. I want to be playing some matches that are difficult, to shake it up, but I want to have a little bit of an easy time every now. I think variety is the spice of life, and variety in terms of difficulty is currently what the game is lacking. And look, if we do want to have consistent difficulty, there's always those Spec Ops missions, and I do really like those Spec Ops missions for being so difficult, because it gives you an option to do that if you want it. Another thing is that I feel as if players, and maybe again it's just the people I'm playing with, but are choosing to use some questionable tactics. For example, on this map you're seeing here, there is a ridge to the right, or well, I guess left of the match, depending on what side you're on, and people will often take tanks up to the top of that ridge and fire down on the enemy. This is a power position that I think is too strong. You're in an armoured tank, so you're already hard to kill. You have incredible accuracy with the cannon, high damage, splash damage, and you're awkward to shoot because you're from a distance. It's just too much of a power position, and it makes it disproportionately advantageous to the player that chooses to get in that tank too quickly. It's not even like a kill streak, and yet it is a position that is better than most kill streaks will give you. So that's something to say for that as well. Also, I feel, and this is I suppose more a comment on the people I'm playing with, to be honest with you guys, rather than the game itself, but can people please start playing the objective? I play objective modes because I feel as if Team Deathmatch overly encourages camping, where it doesn't even make sense to go after each other. So my remedy for that is to play things like Domination and Ground War. They're my two favourite modes in this game, especially Ground War. But there are too many people that seem to be perfectly happy on Ground War to go hide in a building and snipe and never move like the whole match. Like, yes, sniping has its place, but the whole match, that's a little bit crazy. And then if you go to Domination, they'll just get into a window, mount up their M4A1, and they'll shoot with it. And that's another thing that I'm going to say, just because I've noticed it and a lot of people have noticed it. The M4A1 is a little bit overpowered. Although personally I do find myself being drawn more towards the Kilo, because it really reminds me of the ACR, and I was all about the ACR back in Modern Warfare 2, so just that nostalgia really makes me like this gun. Although I appreciate in close range engagements it often doesn't do enough damage for me to be competitive against, well, SMGs for sure, but even the M4A1 can tend to take me out. Another thing I'm not 100% certain if I want, but I am definitely thinking about it, would have to be the old minimap making a return. So the big difference between Modern Warfare's minimap compared to, well, like every other Call of Duty, is that when someone shoots without a suppressor, in the old games that would highlight where they are. In this game, it only shows them on the compass, and the thing about the compass is that it really is only showing what's in front of you. But I have eyes, I already know what's in front of me. The benefit to the old minimap was that it allowed me to see when enemies were behind me, because if an enemy comes up behind me, then unfortunately I have no way of retaliating against them in a game with such a low time to kill. It's not like in Halo, where if someone started to shoot you in the back, you could maybe jump around the corner to evade them. In this game, if someone's shooting you in the back, you are almost certainly dead. So the only way that you can really counter that kind of thing is to know that they are indeed behind you. However, because you don't see people on the minimap as much as you used to without a UAV or personal radar, there's a serious lack of intel. And one thing that I am growing to think was just wrong in terms of people's assumptions is that they thought that having no minimap made the game more tactical. I do not think this is true because, first of all, what do we mean by more tactical? To me, tactics are supplied by intelligence, battlefield intelligence. Like, I am making decisions based on what I know and what I can see. In a game that is completely random, there are no tactics. In a game where I have every bit of knowledge to me, I can make incredibly tactical decisions. So if I see a red dot behind me, it doesn't mean I've automatically beaten them. I still have to turn around and engage them in an effective way, but at least I have a fighting chance. In this game, too often, I don't feel as if you have a fighting chance. Especially, and this makes it even worse, is that the ghost perk, which makes you completely blind from personal radars and UAVs, is so popular. So many people are using the ghost perk. So when I activate my personal radar, I think I know where everyone is around me, but half the players I still can't see because they're all using ghost. And yeah, ghost feels too good. It feels too strong of a perk, and it's become too much of a go-to for players, I think. I actually don't use it. I'm more inclined to use hardline. Funnily enough, the reason I do that is because I feel as if personal radar and UAV are so crucial, but ghost is sort of making them a bit redundant. So that's my final point, is that should we maybe go back to the old radar? I don't think we'll see that. I think that's too fundamental of a change now that the game is actually out. But really what I'm thinking is we need to be countering the camping play a little bit, and I think that would be a step in the right direction. So those are my thoughts. This has been my little bit of a rant against the multiplayer in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Look, on the whole, I do love this game. I look forward to seeing more of it, and I think also Infinity Ward have done a really stellar job of actually listening to people's feedback and where practical reacting to it. So those have been my thoughts. As always, people, thanks very much for watching and see you next time.